My brother Christopher, who was about 2 at the time, was ill with measles.
And he had to be in a darkened room and he wasn't allowed to use his eyes much. And we'd exhausted the entertainment value of most of the nursery rhymes we knew. But there were 2 which still rang a bell. One was the early in the morning down at the station, all little engines standing in a row. Well, I drew some engines standing in a row. I'm not much good at drawing, so I drew them the easiest way, head on. And there was blank space, the smoke boxes. So just for fun, I put little faces in.
It was a very simple picture. 6 engines lined up in an engine shed, front first, so you wouldn't have to bother about drawing the wheels. And they all had faces, and one of the faces was a sad one. And this drew perhaps the inevitable question, why is he sad, Daddy? Well, he said, he hasn't been out for a long time. Why hasn't he been out for a long time, Daddy? Well, the other engines are all bigger than he is, so the drivers choose them first. What's the engine's name, Daddy? Edward, he said. And anyone who knows the first couple of pages of Edward's Day Out, the first story, will probably recognise those answers as being incorporated in those first 2 pages. And it just grew from there. I obviously liked the story, so Father concocted another 2.
Once upon a time, there was a little engine called Edward. He lived in a shed with 5 other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it. The driver won't choose you again, they said. He wants big, strong engines like us. Edward had not been out for a long time. He began to feel sad. Just then, the driver and fireman came along to start work. The driver looked at Edward. Why are you sad? He asked. Would you like to come out today? Yes, please, said Edward. So the fireman lit the fire and made a nice lot of steam. Then the driver pulled the lever and Edward puffed away. He whistled. Look at me now.
The stories were liked, and we had to tell them over and over and over again. And as you've got to tell the story in the same way, using the same words, I wrote them down on the backs of old circulars. In my opinion, are much the best use for circulars. And then Mrs. Awdry thought they were worth something, and in the manner of wives, she stuck pins into me to do something about it.
I had seen books in shops, which I didn't think very much of, and went home and said to Wilbert, I think yours are quite as good as this, why don't you do something about it? But he said, what? You tell me. You see, of course, I didn't know anything about publishing or printing or anything, you see. I did rather push it, I think, because I did feel they were good. And, of course, unusual.
Well, there wasn't any time to write fair copies, so I had to send them these dirty scraps of paper.
Sure enough, after a few years with several rejection letters due to wartime condition, and with a helpful suggestion from his wife, Margaret, Wilbert submitted his stories that he had written in 1942. The publisher in Leicestershire was Edmund Ward, who asked for the 4th story to add the conclusion for Edward, Gordon, and Henry. On May 12, 1945, just 3.5 months before the war had ended, The 3 Railway Engines was published to readers in Great Britain and became a success, selling 22,500 copies. The small book, which was perfect for small hands, contained 4 wonderful short stories of Edward, Gordon, and Henry and their adventures.